if we want to understand how to cultivate motivation, we're actually going to start in India. So I was studying with a tantric guru who initiated me into a secret mantra or mantra. And one of the key things that they sort of did when they initiated me is they said, keep this secret. And they said that if you ever tell anyone what your mantra is, the power of the mantra will diminish. But
if you tell anyone what it is, I feel like I don't get that.
Ever tell anyone what your mantra is, the power of the mantra will diminish. But as you keep chanting it and you sort of cultivate the mantra within you, its power will grow and you.
I think the mantra is like it's like a personal like creed to live by, I think.
Chanting it and you sort of cultivate the mantra within you, its power will grow and you will start to see a lot of material success and spiritual success. So at the time I was failing out of college, had like less than a 2.0 GPA, had no money at all. And over time, I sort of noticed that I kind of became more and more successful. And even today, I wonder about whether that mantra was actually responsible for this. For the record, I still chant the mantra today, and I haven't really told anyone what it is. So whether the mantra is real or whether I'm harnessing the energies of the universe, whatever, today what I'm going to share with you is that principle translated into science, because this is actually scientifically true as well. So if we look at doing therapy with people who are traumatized, what we sort of discover is that if someone has been traumatized, like let's say they were abused, they carry that trauma within them. And what we know clinically is if we can get them to vent that trauma, the energy within diminishes. So as someone goes to psychotherapy and as they talk about their trauma, essentially there's stuff that's stored in here which gets vented out. And as we vent our negative emotions, as we talk about that trauma, as we're honest and authentic, and as our therapist creates a non-judgmental space where they're compassionate with us and we can share our shame and our negative emotions, what starts to happen to the traumatic individuals? That shame and that negativity that used to control their life stops controlling their.
Well, I think it's important, and like the venting stuff, like I agree. But at the same time, I think it's like specifically in a healthy way. Like I think you have to, I guess you have to like express the emotion, but like I think a lot of people get this mixed up with like just complaining or like something that would further it, like expressing it in a negative way. And I think it has to be in a way where you're actually like talking about it from not from your own perspective, but like looking at it outside from an outside perspective and saying like this happened, labeling the emotion, like this is the emotion about it, and you know this is how I feel about it specifically, not just saying like, oh, this sucks, I hate this person, whatever. Like I think that's the distinction specifically.
In our negative emotions, what starts to happen to the traumatic individuals? That shame and that negativity that used to control their life stops controlling their life. This is literally the evidence-based approach of psychotherapy. That what psychotherapy tries to do is take negativity within you and have you vocalize it externally. And when you vocalize it externally, the power of it diminishes. So what does that have to do with a mantra? So a mantra is actually.
Wait. Oh, I get it. So the negative power is diminishing, and the like mantra thing, whatever, I don't understand exactly what it is. That's a positive version of like the same thing. And either way, if you express it, it diminishes. That's interesting. I still think it's like how you express it, because I think if you vent your negative emotions in like in the wrong way, without like labeling it, instead just like expressing like, I hate this, it could actually get more power. But that's interesting.
In you and have you vocalize it externally. And when you vocalize it externally, the power of it diminishes. So what does that have to do with a mantra? So a mantra is actually the exact opposite. So in a mantra, what we're doing is we're cultivating something positive, but we are not venting it at all.
Because if you vent it, it loses power.
Cultivating something positive, but we are not venting it at all. Right? So all we're doing is compounding that internal energy that's positive in nature, And then theoretically, it starts to make positive changes in our life. So what does this have to do with motivation?
I mean, I don't know how much I believe like the whole like spiritual side of it, where you like you kind of like cultivate something inside and then it manifests. But I think like from an emotional standpoint of like positive emotions specifically, I would definitely disagree with this, and I'd say don't like you want to express the positive emotions that will make them stronger. But I don't think this is about emotions as much as it is about like he still hasn't really explained what the like mantra thing is. I think he'll explain it soon.
Theoretically, it starts to make positive changes in our life. So what does this have to do with motivation leaking out? So I want y'all to pay attention to the people around you. And especially if you look at things like social media, what you'll have is these like entrepreneur bros, right? Who are like always talking about what they're going to do. I'm going to start a company. I'm a Sigma grind set. I'm a passive income. I'm going to do this. 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 And why are those people like posting so much on social media, right? Like on the flip side, if we actually look at successful entrepreneurs, they may have like a social media strategy, but they're not out there like posting all their random crap. The people who are actually starting and running successful companies aren't talking about it all the time. And what this sort of leads into is this core principle that when you talk about something, you will end up diminishing your internal energy. And
That's really interesting. I don't think that's always true. I think that if you talk about, you know, how much you like something, that wouldn't diminish how much you like it necessarily, like your internal emotion. Maybe this is more of a motivation standpoint of like if you talk about the business you're working on more, that would diminish your energy. I do think that a really important aspect of this is like fake like positive procrastination, where if you talk about something all the time, you actually get some of the dopamine from actually doing it, and then you don't feel as motivated. Maybe that's the science behind it, because I know that if you specifically talk about, like, you know, tell all your friends about your YouTube channel, like, you get dopamine from just talking about it, and then you wouldn't actually make the video specifically, because you'd already have had the dopamine, and then it's just like a form of like procrastination. So maybe that's actually the science behind it. Let's see what he says.
there's more scientific evidence to kind of back this up. So when I was like a kid, like I was like 17 years old, I would tell people I wanted to become a doctor. And then they would get impressed by that, right? It's kind of bizarre. It's like if you tell people when you're 16, like, yeah, I'm going to be a doctor one day. And everyone's like, oh my God, you're going to be a doctor. Look at you. You're so great. And so what we sort of discover is that when you talk about what you're going to do, you actually get a positive reinforcement externally. So people are like impressed with what you're going to do. And then something really subtle happens. The moment that you get a reward by talking about something, what are you actually reinforcing? The first is that you're reinforcing that talking about stuff gets you a reward. And the second...
Exactly.
The first is that you're reinforcing that talking about stuff gets you a reward. And the second thing is that you're getting the reward without actually doing anything.
It's procrastination in disguise. It feels like you're doing something by like bragging about how you're like being an entrepreneur and starting a business, or like how you're like, you know, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel, blah, 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 blah. And then you actually feel like you're starting the YouTube channel, like deep in your brain, without actually even starting it.
So what ends up happening is as you talk about stuff, your motivation to actually follow through starts to leak away. And you may have also seen this like in gaming, right? There are people who are like posting about theory crafting and like, yeah, like I'm so good at this game and I'm going to do this and I'm getting into arguments with you. I'm spending all my time and energy like on the internet. And they're like 1v1 me, noob, like I'm going to crush you, right? If you like disagree with them, they get like all hyped up and they're like, yeah, I'm going to destroy you and I'm so good. And the people who can actually crush you 1v1 are the ones who are playing the game instead of posting about it on Reddit.
Yeah, like it's like talking the talk versus walking the walk. Like you're literally, it's not just about wasting time. It's about you feel like you're doing the work without doing the work. I think that's a huge trap.
directly crush you 1v1 are the ones who are playing the game instead of posting about it on Reddit. And so this is a really, really common principle that we see at play, which is that the more that you vent what you're going to do, the less motivated and successful you will become. And so this is the cool thing is if you're an introvert, you're less inclined to talk to people about what you do. And this is precisely why I think that the introvert entrepreneurs that I work with are so successful. Because when they have that internal energy, they're just storing it internally and they're using it to drive actions instead of language. So the last piece of kind of scientific evidence about this that I'm going to share with y'all is a discovery that Freud actually made. So what Freud sort of discovered is that language can be a substitute for action. And this may sound really weird because we sort of think about language and action as like not being tied together. And I may have hopefully given you like an argument to think that these two things are tied together, but this is what's really interesting is that the two are intrinsically tied together. And so if we sort of think about, you know, if I'm grief processing and I didn't get a chance to tell someone that I loved them before they passed away, I can still go to their grave and talk to them then. I can share with them, I wish I could have done this with you. I wish I could have done this with you. I wish I could have done this with you. And we don't actually have to do those things. Somehow talking about the thing serves as a substitute for action. And this is a discovery that Freud made, which we sort of borne out in lots of studies on psychotherapy.
Here's a really interesting one. If language can be a substitute for action and you can talk about a bunch of positive stuff in order to basically like substitute that for actually doing the work, and then it like makes you like not do the work, or talk about a bunch of negative stuff and then that stuff might actually make you do the work because it'll make you feel like you haven't done the work yet. I don't know. Like, does it work in reverse? I feel like you could kind of reverse engineer that, but I'm not necessarily sure how you would do it. It still feels counterintuitive to me.
Talking about the thing serves as a substitute for action. And this is a discovery that Freud made, which we sort of borne out in lots of studies on psychotherapy. That language and action are intrinsically linked. And what the yogis sort of figured out is that both of these things come from the same pool of energy, which is precisely why you have two kinds of people in life. You have the talkers and you have the doers, right? You have the entrepreneurs who are out there running companies, and then you have the professors of entrepreneurship who are teaching courses and talking all day about starting companies. Now, they still serve a valuable purpose, and you could even argue that this is the camp that I fall into because I'm talking to you now, right? But it's really fascinating because we have so many sources that suggest to us that language and action are intrinsically tied. So what does this mean for you? What this means for you is, first of all, pay attention to what you say. How often do you talk to people about what you want to do? And what is the relationship between talking to people about what you want to do? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. I have this dream. I have this fantasy. I have this hope. And we go on articulating it all the time. And the more that you talk, what actually happens to your actions? The second thing that I want you to do is to think a little bit about when you have actually done stuff. How much did you talk to people about it before you did it?
Yeah, I mean, I think this really is like, it's almost like a monk mode thing, you know, where you just kind of, you make a YouTube channel and you just don't tell anybody about it. Or you get a gym membership and you just go by yourself, no friends, no nothing. And it's just like, kind of like a villain arc, like it's this very like corny kind of like concept that we like think of a lot in self-improvement as like, that's how like people who aren't really into self-improvement think about self-improvement. But I think it's real and it actually works. Like that's kind of, like for this channel specifically, that's kind of like what I'm doing, where I don't really like talk about this channel at all. It's just a project for me, and I'm able to put in the work independently of any like external validation and actually do something real because of that. Like I think it's a concept that you can use. I don't think this is necessarily always true, because like I've started businesses where it's literally with a friend. We're talking about it every day. Tell all my friends, all my family about it. Still start, literally, I've started like successful businesses that way. I've done two kind of like that with different people. But I do think that this is kind of a concept that you can use for certain aspects of your life. Like, for instance, my fitness journey, right? I'm kind of on this journey continually of like trying to, you know, fix the physique, get better physique, get healthier, maximize like longevity, stuff like that. And I haven't really told anyone about it, and it's worked out great for me because I'm just kind of in my own corner doing my own thing, and I can see the progress, and it's like monk mode, you know.
Happens to your actions. The second thing that I want you to do is to think a little bit about when you have actually done stuff. How much did you talk to people about it before you did it? Chances are that there is an inverse correlation between talking about something and doing something. You woke up one day and you just started going to the gym instead of talking to 1,000 people about how you...
Yeah, this guy knows.
One day and you just started going to the gym instead of talking to 1,000 people about how you want to go to the gym and how you're researching going to the gym and how you're going to go to the gym one day, right? So that's the second thing to pay attention to. And the third thing that you need to do is shut the hell up, especially on social media.
Yeah.
So when we think about social media, we think about all the negative effects of things like doom scrolling. But if you post a lot of crap on social media instead of doing it, or talk to people about what your hopes and dreams are, literally all you need to do is shut the hell up. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't talk to people if there's a particular goal in mind, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Yes, I think specifically the particular goal in mind is like the big caveat. It's like, for me, right, like with the businesses, it was with a friend, so I had to talk about it, and it actually like boosted us, right? We kind of like helped each other up to get motivated and actually work towards our goal together. And I think people can do that in the fitness, for instance, right, where you have a gym bro, and that's like a thing. But I just think you kind of have to pick your path, and I don't think if you do go to the gym alone, work on the business alone, I don't think posting about it on social media is going to help. I agree with him that it's going to hurt. But if you pick the public path, like I think you kind of choose the path at the beginning, like private or public, like with a teammate or without, and then you have to commit and you have to stay committed. And if you divert from that, it'll undermine your work.
You shouldn't talk to people if there's a particular goal in mind, and we'll talk about that in a second. But what I really want y'all to do is, if you have a particular goal, do not tell a soul. If you want to write a book, do not tell anyone that you're writing a book. Keep that energy within you. Don't vent a single ounce of it. Don't vent a single milliliter of that energy. If you have a goal, let it compound within you. Now, the last thing to consider is, okay, but what about talking to people? What about things like journaling? So this is the other thing to keep in mind. If you want to vent something, you need to re-internalize it. So if you journal, you sure as hell better read the journal afterward, because the point of journaling is to vent that energy. This is why as psychotherapists and psychiatrists, we tell patients to journal, right? So you get that crap out on the page and then you're done with it. It's out of you. So if you're journaling about positive stuff, you absolutely need to read it again to try to bring that stuff back, okay? And even when it comes to mantra, you can listen to mantras being chanted for some amount of the effect, which is like a big part of spiritual traditions. So if you're going to vent something, you better re-internalize it. And the second thing that a lot of people may wonder is like, okay, but how am I supposed to keep this secret forever? You can absolutely talk to people, but this is where you have to be very intentional about the scope and length of who you're going to talk to and how much you're going to talk to people about it. And this is something that I've learned at HG. The more random ass meetings that I have where there's a circle jerk.
What the heck? Okay, we'll listen to that in a sec. But I do think a big thing is that for talking to people about it, like people will ask you about it. Like I've had success like as a musician, and you know when I kind of did hit that success after the years and years of literally just grinding every single day. I finally was a very good musician, and then people would ask me about it all the time. It was like a thing, and you can, and at that point, I think it's fine. And that validation is actually reinforcing, but you have to learn to go without it in order to make it to that point. And I think if you try to like seek out that validation by just like posting on social media and stuff like that, it'll be very hollow. People don't really care unless something is really impressive or it benefits them. And so I think that specifically would be a circumstance where you just have to go alone, you have to go cold, and then people will realize it, but that'll be later in the process, like way later, once you have the success, once people, there's something in it for them, right? They want to piggyback off your success, and that's not always a bad thing, right? You can help people, support people up, but it's just about getting there to that point where you can prop people up. And the way you get there is by actually doing the work by yourself, going cold on social media, not talking about it, not seeking the validation.
Who you're going to talk to and how much you're going to talk to people about it. And this is something that I've learned at HG. The more random ass meetings that I have where I like, there's a circle jerk of like, yeah, we want to do this and we want to do this. I have where I like, there's a circle jerk of like, yeah, we want to do this and we want to do this. And like, there are people that I meet with that like have no idea what they're doing, but they're just like talking about all these ideas. And I used to engage in those conversations too. It's like, hey, let's get together and like talk about what we want to build and use AI and use VR and do all this digital mental health crap and gamification. And the more people that like, they're just talking about random crap, they don't actually do anything. So now when I have a conversation, I am engaging in a very scoped conversation. I'm talking to this person about this thing for this purpose.
A really good tip to throw out there. The easiest way to do this is to force yourself not to get ahead of yourself, right? Like when I was starting a business with my friend, it was like we were very locked in. We weren't like all over the place. It was like, okay, we need to get clients first. Let's get clients. Let's put a list together. Contact people. We contacted them. We have 10 clients that want a job. Now we need the resources to actually do the job. We need to make the purchases to get the materials to do the job. Purchase the materials, right? And so we did have those strategy talks, but we didn't talk about the materials before we had the clients. We didn't talk about payment processing until we had the materials and we were actually going to do the job. We didn't talk about turning a one-time customer into recurring until we had those one-time customers in place, ready to do the job, right? And then we didn't talk about actually scaling and trying to hire people until after we had something that was actually running by itself. And we could have just spent literally days, weeks, months building the whole thing up in our heads without getting any work done and feeling great about ourselves, feeling like entrepreneurs. But at the end of the day, you're still broke. So you have to do the action, and you have to force yourself not to do the talking until you do the walking.
About random crap, they don't actually do anything. So now when I have a conversation, I am engaging in a very scoped conversation. I'm talking to this person about this thing for this purpose. I try to keep the conversation at a minimum, and in the back of my mind, I know that every word I say in this conversation is going to deplete my motivation. So the conversation comes at a cost. And the more that you start to realize that, your communications will be focused. Now, the only time I'm going to meet with people and talk to people is when the benefit is clear and outweighs the cost of venting my motivation. So if y'all find that your motivation is leaking away, you should use this tantric principle of keeping the positive stuff within you. Let it compound, let it build up, let that pressure of positivity build up, and then channel it into action instead of words. And on the flip side, recognize that there is a shared pool of energy between talk and action, which is precisely why there are talkers or doers. You never have both. And this is why if you just simply stop talking, which is naturally what introverts want to do, lean into that, right? And the less you talk, the more you will be able to accomplish.
Yeah, low-key, just shut up and do the work. It's not that hard.